The argument is already in debate, bro. Hold on, let me just resend this.
My name is Packer. You.
Okay, hold on. No, this is the wrong server. Fuck, wait, wrong server. Bro, what server is this called again? Tron's Amps. It's right here, general
Tron's
Tron's Amps.
Amps. Fuck me again. Up in a fucking business. Up in a fucking business.
Premise 1 just states that for a conditionality, condition here means contingent. For conditionality to exist, an unconditional one must exist. Right? And the premise 2 just says that to be unconditioned, to be ontologically independent. I mean, that's literally just trivial. If you're ontologically independent, you must have no metaphysical restrictions. If you do, then you cannot be ontologically independent. So by definition, you must also be metaphysically unrestricted. If there exist two of these ontologically independent beings, that means they aren't numerically identical, meaning there's a property that distinguishes one from another. And if there's one from another, then these things are not ontologically independent. Therefore, there has to exist only one. P2 is also, or that P2 there is also analytical. And the conditionality is changed by the unconditional ones. I mean, obviously, that's trivial. The unconditionality would have to possess a will or a creative power to conceive of these conditionalities. I mean, that's also trivial. You have to have some sort of causal power to create these conditionalities. Therefore, the unconditionality must have a will/creative power. The only contentious premise here is probably like premise 1 and 2.
Wait, so how does this contribute to proving that God exists?
Yeah, so the ontologically independent, metaphysically unrestricted being, Sashiati here would just be God, by definition, because that's what I define God as.
Okay, that's what you define God is, but I just want to know the symmetry breaker for why I should define God as that.
That's retarded. Obviously, you're debating me on my position, and on my position, I define God to be an unconditioned, ontologically independent, metaphysically unrestricted being. So I don't see what the fuck you're talking about here.
Okay. I'm just gonna break this down to simple terms, you fucking retard. So basically, what I'm saying here is why should I grant your definition?
Nigga, because that's what I think God is, and if that definition or if this argument proves that definition,
yes.
God
Okay, so for example, if I'm not arguing on your view, then why should I have to agree with your definition? If I'm just gonna be arguing on your view in this case.
I don't look. It seems to be the case that you are even attacking the argument. You're just talking about fucking definitions, right? All I'm here to do is prove God exists, right? And God, by definition, I don't care if you have a different definition, right? I don't care if you have a different definition of God. All we're here to prove, or all I'm here to prove, is that an unconditioned, ontologically independent being, metaphysically unrestricted being that is named God exists. So you're retarded, bro.
So how am I not wanting to grant your position? As I've already told you, if I'm just gonna be arguing on your position, I just want to prove your definition for God being wrong. I'm just gonna follow up with more facts on that.
Okay,
because
so
I've already told you. So retard. You have to understand. Just because that's what you define God as doesn't mean that's really correct. So what's gonna be the factor in this case that would just make us choose that outcome or path or choice?
The argument, you fucking dumbass. Oh my god, this guy's an idiot. Look, the argument here proves that this thing exists, right? So it just seems to be the case that you're just running away.
Wait, so how am I running away after I just told you? Why should we choose this definition, retard?
I gave
That's
the
what
argument.
The symmetry breaker is.
I gave the argument. Oh my
Nigga,
god.
I'm telling you, how does an argument contribute to being a symmetry breaker?
But what the fuck? Okay, so if this argument, you're not even look. So let's just say we assume the argument to be true, just for the sake of this debate. If this argument is true, then that means, since it's a valid argument, that means that a unconditioned, ontologically independent, metaphysically unrestricted being that caused the universe exists, and that is just my position.
Okay, but still, that still is not a symmetry breaker. Okay.
Yeah, you're retarded. You are, bro.
You're retarded, retard.
You're an idiot.
You're just telling me your damn position, but you're not going to give the actual symmetry breaker, you fucking retard. So I'm just gonna repeat it again, bitch. Answer the damn question. What's gonna be the symmetry breaker for this question? Don't run away from the question, bitch.
I've already answered your question, dumbass. I've already answered. Look, Prince, let's just get this on.
Look, no, dumbass nigga. I've already told you. You still have to answer the question, retard.
Why are you flaming?
I've answered the question. Are you okay? Look,
I literally answered the question.
Can you repeat back to me?
Dang, he low-key flaming your ass.
Can you repeat back to me my answer, Symbols? Repeat back to me my answer. What was my answer to the symmetry breaker?
You didn't give an answer. You just shadow
Okay, see,
boxed
that's
with
not.
a completely different
Why can
thing
you not
by
tell me? Look,
stating your damn position. I
Prince,
never asked for
Prince,
your damn
listen to me,
position.
bro.
I just
Prince,
asked the
Prince,
factor, and you
I'm
just
not
said
trying
that
to
it was
debate.
just gonna be your argument, you retard.
Prince, I'm not trying to debate.
So I just want
Listen,
to
bro.
know. So
Listen,
listen, dumbass nigga. So why should I adhere to God?
why should you adhere to this definition of God?
Yes.
Oh my God, bro. You're so retarded. Look, kid, right? So if you're debating me on my position, right? And all I'm defining is this thing that calls the universe. This thing that calls the universe must have these properties, right? Then what the fuck are you talking about? That's the only thing that I call God. I don't see what the
Yeah,
fuck you're
that's what
talking
you
about. You
called
defining the
God,
definition.
retard. But eventually, we're gonna have to come to a necessary conclusion on the definition, and I don't grant your definition.
No, we
So
don't. Well, why do we have to
yeah,
come to
yes,
necessary
we do,
conclusion? Why?
retard. That's how it works. That's how debate
Why?
works. To come to a
Why?
necessary conclusion, listen, retard. To
No,
come to a necessary
that's not what
conclusion, we just
you're
need a
saying.
definition that we need to agree on. Now, I'll grant your definition. Okay,
That's not, okay, look, why we need to come to understand conclusion.
nigga. If I don't grant your definition on God, nigga, if I don't grant your definition on God, then this would
I don't
just mean. Listen, retard. Can you let me finish? If I don't grant your definition on God, then how are we gonna use it consistent through the debate?
if you don't grab my look, I don't give a fuck if you do or don't, right? All I'm trying to prove here is that an ontologically independent metaphysical unrestricted being exists. And it seems to be the case that you're running away from this. So look, do you have any contentions with the argument I gave? Stop meta debating and actually engage with the substance, dumbass.
Oh, nigga, because I'm disagreeing with your definition of God. So if I just disagree with
How
your
do you even
definition of
disagree
God
with the
and
definition? I
disprove that
really
said
don't understand
definition,
what you're
your
saying.
argument would just fall apart, retard. And as
Okay,
I've already
how
been
do you even
telling
disagree
you,
with the definition?
listen, retard. Can you let me talk now? I'll let you talk, okay, retard? So as I've already told you, we cannot use your definition consistently. So we can't even use it throughout the whole debate. Like,
Yeah,
so
prove
basically, you just
why can't
saying,
we use
you
it
know, you just saying that
consistently?
that's your definition of God doesn't automatically grant the damn definition. You fucking
Look, look,
retard. I've explained that
look, look,
multiple damn
look,
times.
look. Why
So in
can't
this
we use
case,
it consistently?
I could define God. I'm just gonna give an example. In this case, I can define God as a metaphysical
No, look,
apple
just
that that all things are contingent on, right? I could say that, but we wouldn't still automatically grant that definition. Okay? Do you get this? So just because that's your definition of God does not mean that's gonna automatically be the whole definition of God for the entire debate. Okay? Okay, retard.
yeah. Can I get unmuted? Hello.
What is happening right now? Don't mute him, please.
Yo, can I get unmuted? Hello. Okay. Yeah. Look, symbols. You fucking dumbass, right? You're talking about definite. Look, stop meta debating, right? All I'm trying to say here is that an unconditioned, ontologically independent, metaphysical, unrestricted being, exists, right? And what you're trying to do here is talk about definitions, right? Look, look,
Nigga,
look,
because you're
look.
giving a definition of
Can you stop?
God. That's the
Can you stop
thing.
interrupting me? Can you stop
You're
interrupting?
giving a definition of
I don't
God.
even see
That's what you're
how I don't
doing.
even see how you can justify definitions, right? Because look, what we're trying to prove is that X being exists, right? And X being has these properties. That's all I'm trying to prove here. You're saying that, well, why do I have to grant this definition? Like, you don't need to grant my definition at all. I don't care if you do or don't, right? What you have to do right here is go against the argument and give an objection, retard.
Okay, retard, your definition of God, right? If I just go ahead and disagree and disprove the definition of God, which is what you're stating when you said that God is going to be so and so, basically me just disagreeing with your definition of God here would just disprove your argument. If you think that
Yeah,
God
how would it
is
disprove?
that, nigga,
Yeah, how would it
because
disprove?
listen, so if you think God is that, you're just gonna, and then in this case, just gonna be trying to prove that that thing exists necessarily. Necessarily that would not be God if it's not gonna be the
Yeah, okay, wait,
definition
wait,
of a
why?
God,
Yeah, why?
which
Prove
are
that. Why? Why?
that's why
No,
I'm just
yeah,
gonna be in
prove
this case
why.
not granting your definition, you bitch ass nigga.
Okay,
So
prove
go
that.
ahead and
Why?
refute that.
No, go ahead and prove what you last just said. You said that, well, this thing would not exist, right? Yeah, go ahead and prove that. Why? Why is it the case that just because you don't grant the definition means that this thing does not exist?
Nigga, because
What's the
that's
justification?
no.
That's already
Listen, okay.
said.
So in this case, listen,
Read
bitch
it.
ass nigga. I'm just gonna say this again. In this case, your definition of God, it was some. I don't fucking know. I can't recall, but your definition of God. Let's just take an example, okay? this is going to be how I'm refuting your point. Okay, so for example, you define God as let's say you define God as a metaphysical apple. Okay, retard, do you understand this? Let's say you define God as a metaphysical apple, right? But I just disproved the definition of God being
How do you disprove definition,
a
bro? I don't
metaphysical.
understand.
Listen, retard, don't
Wait,
interrupt. Don't interrupt. Okay, so look, I just disproved. Listen, bastard. In this case, I'm just gonna disprove. Okay, I'm just gonna disprove that the definition of God would just adhere to being a metaphysical apple. So analytically, whatever you define God as would just be false in this case. And usually, this just means that in this case, God would not exist if I prove that that's not the definition of God. So in this case, so yeah, if you're just gonna argue something that's not inherently or analytically God, then in this case, I could just say that. Yeah, I could just say that God does not exist in this case. If you're just gonna argue
Yeah.
something
Okay.
that's not God.
Look. Okay. Look. All right. Look. Retard. Right. Um. So you're just claiming that. Well, if it's this thing that it's not actually the anal. Bro, I don't give a fuck. Okay. Look. Do you want to use?
No.
I don't like. I don't really care to meta debate this point. Do you want to use the fucking Oxford definition instead? If that's what you think the analytics actually are.
You said you want me to give an analytical definition?
No. Look, I said that I don't care to meta debate on this point, right? So, do you want to use the Oxford definition if you think that's what the definition actually is?
Well, I said we should just present it here. So in this case, I'm just gonna just present the definition here of God just being a necessary and conscious being.
Is that what you define God as?
That's what I want to establish the definition as. So
Okay,
yes, a
that's
necessary and conscious being.
Look, all right, sure, man. I don't give a fuck. All right, the argument's in charity.
Okay, the argument is
You're saying
so.
to prove.
Okay, so wait, so how are you just gonna prove that God? Wait, how are you gonna prove that God in this case would just be conscious?
Yeah, so in philosophy, things cannot cause things if they're not conscious.
Okay, I'm just gonna give an analogy to refute that. So, you said that things cannot cause things if they are not conscious in philosophy. But for example, let's give a definition in the absurdity of this. I'm just gonna give the reductio. So, for example, a fetus in the womb, they kick in a womb, and yet they're not conscious. So, in this case, we could say that if God was necessary in this case, this necessary action of creating the universe could just be an unconscious act, like the example I gave where the fetus just kicks in the womb.
Yeah, okay, so there are two different things. Okay, look, in everyday, so you agree that fire stuff like that, right? Whatever. In basic physical causality, consciousness is obviously not required. But look, when we say the first cause, like the ultimate explanation, right? If something's not conscious, then it only acts when something else acts upon it. So, for example, the baby acting upon its instincts, right? It's passive, or it just responds to force or conditions, something like that. But in the case of God, right? This first thing cannot cause any, or this first thing needs to be conditioned because there's not anything behind it that can passively cause it to cause things. So it would, by definition, need to actually be conscious to do anything.
Okay, so in this case, if it's just gonna be necessary, right? If the universe is gonna be necessary on it, or just things, or all things are gonna be necessary on it, why in this case can it just not be conscious? Like this necessary thing does not have to be conscious.
Wait, repeat that first part. You said.
Yo.
Okay, so in this case, as I've already said, in this case, as I've already said, the baby analogy or the fetus analogy, kicking in the womb.
I don't think fetus analogy is analogous to God. I already said that.
Wait, no, I'm giving an analogy to say that
God.
Wait, can you shut the fuck up? Can you shut the fuck up? Okay. So God, let's say in this case, God creating all things. In this case, is just going to be the kick in the womb. That's just going to be the act of creating all things, the unconscious act of kicking in the womb. Okay. Do you get this?
Look again, bro. I just told you that I don't think the fetus analogy is analogous with God.
Just a repetition. That doesn't attack the example.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Let me tell you why it doesn't attack the example. Because the main point what you said originally was that no, you said unconscious things cannot cause other things. But he gave an unconscious thing like the fetus, and he said that can cause some disruption within the stomach, like kicking the stomach. You didn't attack that. Hence, if he gave in one instance to that universal negation, which you just gave in, then that just attacks the whole entire fucking inference you just made, bro.
No, okay, look, okay, yeah, I don't think that's analogous to the God. You know,
Revelation.
God.
That
Oh
attacks
my
the
gosh,
thing.
nigga, you're just going
Yeah, okay,
circular at this point.
yeah, okay. So
I
if
just don't
something
think
is
that.
purely
So can you just
actual, it does
define?
not need
Wait,
to
can
be
you just
moved
say why it's
or by
not
anything
gonna be an
else.
analogy to God? And I didn't even say it was an analogy. Well, actually, I kind of did. I said it was an analogy
Yeah,
to
you
the
did say it was an
unconscious act
analogy.
of creating all things. That's
Yeah,
what I
okay.
said,
If something
right? But
is
you're not gonna
okay, so yeah,
disprove this.
Yeah,
okay,
because
look, okay,
Zeni
so
said
look,
some
yeah,
eggs cannot cause things if it's unconscious, but like.
His claim is in chat.
okay, so
Unconscious
look,
things can't cause things within philosophy. That's what you said verbatim. You never said unconscious things that are God can't cause things in philosophy. You just said unconscious things. That can be anything that can be like, considered a thing that's not conscious. So a fetus is gonna be considered a thing. And if a fetus is gonna be considered a thing and it's unconscious and it causes disruption and rumble within the stomach, then your whole entire
okay, look,
analogy just
okay,
fails.
I don't think, look, I don't think that would apply to something like God.
Oh my God, that's just a repetition of
Cause
understanding.
listen,
Okay, yeah, the reason why, look, I already gave the reason why is because if something is purely actual, it does not need to be moved by anything else. It would need to freely move around and need a will to start causing these things, and a will presupposes,
Zeni, you just
fucking.
went to tier 5 in my fucking tier list. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
No,
if you're not
okay, look,
understanding this
okay,
shit, bro.
I might have, okay, look, I might have, I might have, missed there when I said that unconsciousness
Okay.
cannot cause things
Okay.
within philosophy.
Right.
That has to be
All
fundamental.
trolling aside, he's saying that God's pure actual, and this would have to be necessary towards God, Packer Yo.
Yeah, this would have to be necessary towards God.
okay, so you're saying
That
that all
So it's different.
so you're saying that all spirits are natural. You said that, right?
I did not say all spirits are natural. I said that since God is purely actual, it has no potentiality, no dependency. It doesn't need to be moved by anything else, right? So it would have to freely go out of his own will to cause these things, and a will would need to presuppose consciousness.
Okay, so in this case, they're saying you just need a will to move things. But in this case, I just say that it's a natural or inherent function to be the necessary cause of all things. I could just say that.
You said what?
An inherent
Let me look up.
function, just because he's necessary in this case, since he's necessary, it's just going to be an inherent function for him to create things, or for him to create all things. I just say that. Like, it could be a
Instead of being will.
function in them.
Like an inherent function instead of like it being willed or intelligence or
Yeah,
agency. Okay.
yeah.
No fucking way. Oh my fucking
No way.
god.
Let me
Okay,
real quick go get the charge.
Zeni, do you understand what he just said?
Oh my
Holy
fucking
shit.
god. There's no way he's losing the Packer Yo.
No, he had to get a charger. He had to get a charger.
Okay.
There's no
Why is he
bro.
underperforming rhetorically and in substance against Packer Yo?
Look, can you stop calling me Packer? Yeah, bro. It's
Yeah,
annoying,
all
bro.
right. Look, I'm back. I'm back. So you said
Okay,
what?
so yeah, I'll
Oh,
just
yeah,
go to
attack the
repeat.
argument I gave.
So what if it's just so in this case, what if it's just an inherent function just because he's necessary in this case to create all things?
You said so. What do you mean by inherent function here? You mean that it's just within the nature of God?
Just a natural function. Do you
Just the
think God's
natural function.
eternal?
Do
Do
I
you
think
think
God's
God's
eternal?
eternal? Yes.
I think that would be implied from him being necessary. Yep.
Yes. So in this case, if God is going to be eternal, I just think it would be an inherent function to say that God would just create all things.
I prove that.
Okay. So yeah, in this case, so as I've already said, a function in this case, like the fetus has a function to make disruptions in the womb, or has the ability to make disruptions in the womb. So in this case, God in this case is just going to be God in this analogy is going to be the fetus, right? And in this case, the fetus just has that said function to kick in the womb. So in this case, since God has that function to kick in the womb or just create all things, that and he what's it called, partake in this ability and created partake in this function unconsciously, we could say that, then of course God created all things unconsciously.
Okay, so you said that just like how the fetus, fucking causes disruptions in the stomach, why can't that be the same for God? Is that what you said? Hello?
Can you repeat?
Yeah. So look, only okay. So unconscious things can only cause things, right? In or my fault. How do I say it? So unconscious things can cause things, but only in response to other things that cause them. And since God cannot have a cause, right? Then he'd need to be fucking conscious. So in the case of the baby, um, the thing that causes the baby to start disrupting the stomach could be something like him being hungry, or yeah, just him being hungry, right? Like if the mother hasn't eaten food and the baby's gonna be hungry, right? Because of that, conscious decision that the mother made, the baby would now start, kicking the womb. So it'd be an unconscious act that only comes in response to a cause or a conscious thing causing that. And I don't think that can be the case for God because, well, there cannot be anything before God that causes God to do that thing.
Okay, yeah, and I just told you in this case I can just say that it's an inherent function for him to cause all things. Just like I
I
said,
literally
the
just, I
fetus.
literally
Wait,
just,
can you let me
yes.
talk? Wait, can you let me talk? So you said the external factor is the mother being hungry, but in this case, let's say the mother is well fed, right? Let's say the mother is well fed, but the fetus still has the ability to kick. It still has the ability to kick, and it still can kick. So in this case, we could say that the fetus just unconsciously kicked in this case still. So just saying
No,
that there's
no,
an
look,
external cause to the fetus in this case kicking is only circumstantial. But in this case, the fetus uh, that's kicking just has no cause of kicking. Okay, it's just
no,
gonna be an
just because,
unconscious act.
okay, so just because the mother, right? Just because the mother is fed, there could be another thing that causes the baby to kick that the mother has done unintentionally. I don't see. Okay, I don't think from what
What's
I've
the
read
other thing in
on
this
medical
case?
studies about babies, right? I don't think from what I've read about medical studies about babies is that they just kick things unconsciously whenever they want, however they want, unless you can prove that, right? I don't think I believe that the baby will do this thing.
Okay, so as I already said, what's gonna be the other external cause for this?
I mean, it could be, for example, okay, it could be the way the mother is laying down on her. Maybe let's say she's laying down on her stomach, right? Maybe the baby would, from that conscious act of her laying down on her stomach, the baby's not going to kick the mother because it doesn't like to be in this position or something like that, right? It doesn't really have. I don't really know a lot about it, but it doesn't necessarily need to just be because the mother is hungry.
Okay, yeah. So as I've said, just because it doesn't necessarily have to be that the mother is hungry, you still have not provided other reasons in this case.
I literally just gave you another reason.
Oh wait, my bad. I might have not heard you. Can you just repeat the reasons?
I said it could be the way the mother is laying down or not, right? It could
The
be
way the
that,
Nigga,
mother
let's
is
say
dog.
laying down.
down on her
Let's go,
stomach.
guys.
Let's say, bro, shut up, bro. Look, it could be the way the mother's laying down. Let's say she's laying down on her stomach and the baby just like that position, and it's not going to kick the mother because of that, right? That conscious act.
Okay, so you said it could
That
be
could
the
be
way the
another.
mother's.
That yeah. So the conscious act of the mother laying down on her stomach cannot be cannot be the cause of the baby kicking the womb.
Could also, so you said that can also be the cause, but in this case, the mother, what's it called? King God. All right, whatever. So as I've been saying, in this case, let's just say the mother is not laying in that weird position. The fetus in this case could still kick. So the fetus in this case still kicking. It would just be God still being able to create all things unconsciously, even when there's no external cause.
It literally doesn't even have to look. It literally doesn't even have to be um because of how the mother's laying down. It could just be the case of the baby kicking as a normal element of its body. So
Okay.
yeah, just because of the way it is, it kicks stuff.
Okay, so just because the way it is.
No,
Oh
wait,
my
let me.
gosh, just because the way it is. So now I'm gonna use
Wait,
what your own statement. That's a blunder. I'm gonna use your own statement to go ahead and just debunk your claims on the fetus having an external cause, but God does not have an external cause. So just being the way it is. Let's say God is the way He is. So He kicks in the womb, aka creating all things. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my fucking god.
Who
yeah,
debating,
okay,
bro?
look, okay, that was
Zeni.
my fault. I meant to say that babies kick in response to stimuli, right? Let's say
Oh my
maternal
god.
movement, temperature, sounds, stuff like that. It kicks because of that, and that's all conscious. Or that's all a conscious um act because of the mother. Let's say the mother goes into a cold room and the baby kicks because of that.
Backtrack to
That's a conscious
doom.
act. Yeah, that was my fault. That was my blunder. I
How
meant to
you rape a
clarify.
P zombie, huh?
I got muted. Like I got fucking muted immediately. I don't know why, bro.
Okay,
Why
so
did
you
you give
said
me?
they
I
could
was
be
literally
reacting
about to
to the
clarify.
external stimuli, but as I've already said, the fetus still in this case could just kick without any reason.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
know?
that's possible at this point. Yeah, I don't
Oh
think that's
wait,
possible.
Huh?
okay. So can you just prove that? Can you just prove that?
Yeah, yeah. So medical studies just gave us a list of reasons as to how the baby or why the baby kicks, right? And if there's no reason as to why the baby kicks, then there just seems to be a contradiction.
The P not P.
Okay. I mean, what if? Okay, so for example, in this kick, I've already said, what if this kick in this case is just going to be an internal function?
And yeah, I literally just explained to you why it can't be.
Okay, so in this case, so for example,
Yeah,
so you're
it
saying
cannot
reacting
be.
to the external stimuli. I mean, are we still gonna backtrack on your last reason for why a fetus might kick?
Yeah, I said okay. Look, so if there's no reason for the baby to kick, like for example, it literally does not fit any of the conditions for the baby to kick. I think
Oh
it's
no,
not
no, no,
possible.
no, no, not no, not that, not that. So the reason in this case is gonna be that the baby has the internal function to kick. Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you that it like that's impossible. We're just saying that
Okay.
now.
Wait, but that's the reason in this case. I already told you that.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's possible for the baby to kick at all, and it cannot be a possible internal function of the baby. Right?
So it can't kick at
Let me just
all.
explain. Yeah, it can't kick at all if it doesn't fit the conditions to kick, and if it does kick, then there must be a contradiction.
So you're
There is a
saying that if
penalty.
it kicks, so you're saying that if it kicks, there must be a condition for the kick.
Yeah. So if it kicks, then there must be a reason as to why it kicks. If there's no reason as to why it kicks, then there's a contradiction. Like,
What if it just kicks and there's no reason for it kicking?
the reason. Yeah, if he agrees to the reasons, then the only thing he can agree to is stimuli. And if it's stimuli, then that's an external reason, meaning that his claim will not be defeated.
I
What
mean,
if
I
what if
never.
it
Wait,
kicks without
hold up.
stimuli?
So in this case, I never specified that the fetus in this case would be God. I said that the
Well, I don't
kicking
care.
action. I said the kicking action in this case is just him being creating all things. So instead, I'm gonna also give you a reason. What if this fetus, in this case, is just gonna be contingent? Like the kicking is just gonna be contingent in this case. So in this case, God creating all things in this case is just gonna be contingent. Okay, what if I say that? Now what?
Well, okay, wait, okay. Are you dropping the earlier point, and also can you clarify more on what you mean?
Wait, so draw? No, I'm just saying I'm giving a
Yeah,
reason.
okay. Look, if you don't respond to the
Contingent.
contradiction,
So
then
look. So I'm saying I'm still sticking to my analogy. I'm still sticking to my analogy with this reason. I'm just saying that what if the fetus is just gonna be
okay, then go against
the
the
fetus
contradiction.
kicking in this case is just gonna be contingent.
Can you resolve the contradiction though? Just before that, I don't want to get on to
Okay.
new points. How you resolving the contradiction? So resolve the
Okay.
penal.
Okay. Just go ahead and restate the contradiction. But then can you
Yeah,
also just
so
answer my
if this
question
baby
after
kicks
that?
with no reason, right? Let's say we have these set of rules that allow for that make sure that if these conditions are met, if these rules are met, then this baby kicks. If the baby kicks without any reason, then there must be a contradiction. There must be a P not P because it's kicking, right? And it doesn't fit the conditions to kick.
What the fuck are you
Okay.
saying?
But yeah,
I
in
pretty
this
sure that
case, I
look.
already told you. What if the condition in this case is the kick? In the kick in this case is just gonna be contingent. Like, what if I say
Okay, what do
that?
you mean by okay? Yeah, what do you mean
Because
by
the fetus
contingent?
has the wait. Hold up. Can you let me wait? Can you let me elaborate? Saying what you
Yeah, I
mean by
was
that, I
just
was about
about
to
to ask you that.
elaborate. For example, since the fetus in this case has a function to kick in this case, and there's multiple conditions that would need to happen. But what if I say in this case one of the conditions is just gonna be contingent?
Yeah, what do you mean by contingent here? Are you saying it's dependent upon the mother's action?
No, it's it's just gonna be subject to chance in this case. So what if I say that God creating all things is contingent?
And by contingent, you just mean subject to chance. Yeah,
Yes,
I'd probably disagree with that.
the natural ability. You say what?
Yeah, I disagree with the chance. Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
I think that it's
Okay, wait.
necessary.
So how? So if they have the natural ability to creating all things, right?
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Look, I think
And
the
there's wait,
hypothesis. Look,
and the universe could have not existed, right? The universe could
wait,
have not
look.
existed, right?
Okay, wait. Let me explain. Wait, so I meant to say that the hypothesis in which God creates the universe out of His own free will, we're more actually justified in believing that rather than believing that God created it out of chance.
Can you just go ahead and restate that real quick?
Yeah, so
One
we
more
have
time.
God created it. That God created the universe, right? Through His own free will, His own act, or through His own will, right? And then we have the second hypothesis that God created it through chance. And I think that the first hypothesis just makes more sense. We're more rationally justified in believing it.
Okay, wait. So what's gonna be the symmetry breaker for why we should pick the first hypothesis?
Yeah, so I mean, okay, so this hypothesis, right? It's explanation as to why. Look, so it's explanation as to why. If I just give an explanation, right, and the second hypothesis doesn't, then it just seems to be the case as of right now that the first hypothesis is better. Do you want the explanation as to why? Do you want the explanation as to why God created it out of His own will rather than chance?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So let's just see. So if something is purely actual, right? It does not depend on anything. It's not potential, but freely chooses to act rather than being forced to it. It would need a will, and this will would presuppose consciousness. Then it just seems to be the case that God is this purely actual thing, and since nothing is forcing God to create the universe, God created of His own free will. Therefore, that's an explanation as to why God created the universe through free will rather than chance.
Okay. So in this case, I never said that there was anything forcing him in this case. So for the second hypothesis, like contingent, I just think there's a chance that the universe was going to be created, or all things residing within the universe was just going to be created by God. In this case, I'm just saying that there was a chance that He could have not created these things, right? There's a chance that He could have not created these things unconsciously, right? Or yeah, He could have not created this thing, right? But in this case, He created this thing, so it just still be contingent. That's just going to be the explanation behind my the second hypothesis, which I also did not make, by the way. But here, I'm just gonna tell you also that when the fetus, not the fetus, my bad, the God, fuck, my brain's fogged. But yeah, let me lock in. So, anyways, I'm gonna tell you. So, for example, you're just using parsimony for the symmetry, which you're just including two different subjects, I'm pretty sure. But let's just say this. So, for example, even if your hypothesis is more parsimonious, I don't see how this makes it the symmetry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wait. So you agree? All right. Look. So yeah.
No,
So
no,
if it is
I said
wait. Look.
it's more
Yeah. Okay. Look.
parsimonious.
Look. So yeah, if it's more parsimonious, then we have better rational reasons to believe that God created through His own free will, rather than through chance. We just explained it, literally just like that. Because these two
No.
hypotheses both explain the data as to why the universe exists. God created it through chance, or God created it through free will. I'm saying that God created through free will, and then you said that even if it is more parsimonious, then why should we choose this? Well,
Well, hold
because
up.
it agrees
So, wait, you
data
think God has a
whilst agreeing.
qualia? Wait, you think God has a qualia then?
I think God has a will.
No. Can you answer the question? Do you think God has a qualia?
What do you mean by qualia? Like subjective experiences?
The qualia in this case.
Subjective
Actually,
qualitative experiences.
suggestive qualitative experience. That's not what
Yeah,
it said.
that's what quality means.
That's not wait. That's not what it said. So qualia in this case is just going to be the internal subjective experiences of consciousness. Okay. So for
Nigga,
example, if the wait, hold up. So wait, can you let me talk? So in this case, if God has free will, right? If he has consciousness, right? Then would he have a qualia? But what I want you to prove is that God has a qualia. Do you think?
yeah, so it would just
Because
be okay. Then I guess it would just be a biconditional that qualia would have. Look, so if and only if God has a will and a consciousness, then God would have qualia. God has a consciousness slash will, therefore God would have a qualia. What does that have to do with the argument?
but does God have internal experiences? Because you need a qualia to have consciousness, or a qualia to have free will.
What, bro? What? Okay, I don't look. I don't see how this relevant. Can you like go against the argument? Like the argument that I
Wait,
gave for
so
God.
yes,
The argument I
so
gave for
look. So can you just prove that he has a qualia?
what? Look, I just told you there would just be a bicondition of him having a consciousness. But also, wait, I don't see the relevancy of this point because what we're trying to debate, or the point right now is whether God created the universe through free will or created it through chance. And I gave an argument as to why he created it through free will, saying that,
Wait,
well,
so
it's more
wait a
parsimonious
minute.
and more rationally justified in
So
believing in it.
so somebody in the chat just mentioned subjective, right? Do you think God is objective? I just want to ask you that.
Do I think God? Yeah, I think God exists. Corresponds to reality.
Yeah,
It is
so you think
objective.
so do you think he's objective? Yes or no?
I think he corresponds to reality, and that's what you think
Oh,
Yes.
objectivity.
whoa, holy dog! Just a
Yes.
yes
He's
or no
asking. He's
Yes.
question.
asking like, is God truth and all that? Do you believe like God is like objective?
Is
Everything of
God
him is
truth?
objective. Do you think everything of him is
Is
like objective?
I think that's bro. I don't. Okay, like, are you saying that is God logic? Is God truth? Is God?
No. I'm
Reason?
not trying to ask in the divine simplicity sense. I'm asking, do you believe everything of God is just gonna be like true?
Is everything of God gonna be true? I'm pretty sure if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure
Yes.
about that. I'll just be
Just say
agnostic.
yes or no. Oh my God.
Nigga, I'm
Okay.
agnostic.
Never mind.
I mean, I don't. I
Never
don't
mind.
know.
He just saved himself out.
I don't
So you
know.
just think not.
But
So you just
Wait,
so
so
you
he's
don't know
not
what
objective?
objective means.
God's
So
not
no,
God's
I'm
not
objective?
not.
objective.
Okay,
So is
look, I'm
everything
not
of God
sure.
not objective? Like, do you not
Does
believe
okay?
God
Is
is
it
like gonna
objective,
be like
bro?
truth and shit?
Are you just saying that is it objective that God has these
Like
properties?
truth. Yeah, true. Like, is everything of him like true?
Nigga,
No?
like does God, bro? What the fuck, nigga? I'm pretty sure, maybe.
Oh, reductor incoming.
God, his
You said
lips.
it is objective.
There's
You
no
said
ways.
you
Shut the
said it's
fuck
No,
up.
objective.
You say you're
no.
pretty
Look,
sure.
I'm
If he
agnostic, bro.
if he isn't, he's contradicting himself.
Yeah, because you took the agnostic stance, but then you said you were pretty sure. So if
Okay,
God
look,
in this case
bro. Alright,
is
sure.
not going to be objective, then I just don't think he would exist in this case.
What the fuck? Okay, no. I just said I'm pretty sure that God would be objective. I literally just said that because
Oh, so God would.
I didn't understand what you meant by.
Wait.
But
Oh
I
my
literally
gosh!
just didn't
You said
understand what
God's
you meant by.
objective, right? You said God's
Sure,
objective, right?
God is
Like,
objective.
everything
Oh
of
my.
God is gonna be objective? That's what I'm
You.
asking.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything of him is gonna be objective, but he has qualia.
All right. Reductio incoming. So you're saying that God is objective in this case, but free will, the concept of free will in this case is going to be subjective. And you're saying that God created all things on a subjective topic, even though all things about Him are objective. So you're contradicting yourself. So that's just going to be the
Okay,
reductio.
so
You see the
okay. Look,
absurdity? He would
okay,
not. So
look.
that's just gonna
Boom,
nerf your whole
reductio!
Your
position
Okay,
on
card.
look.
how.
Okay,
No,
You got my
that's just gonna
reductor.
bro, can
nerf
y'all shut
your
up?
whole position
Wait,
on God being
Zeni, just to be
objective
clear,
and God.
you said God has qualia, which we define qualia as like this subjective experience. So if qualia is gonna be like this subjective experience, and you said everything of God is gonna be like this objective criteria, then you just contradicted yourself because there exists something subjective which is going to be a part of God. So meaning God is not fully objective. So now your God is a contradiction. So he kind of just proved that
Okay,
God does not
well, okay,
exist.
He also said he's
bro.
subject
What?
to
And
change,
Okay,
and
which
in
means
this
that he could
case,
physically.
wait,
contradictions don't
okay,
exist. So,
bro.
for example, in the way now I'm gonna prove that God exists. Contradictions in
Bro,
this case
what?
don't
Look,
exist. Let's
wait. Can
say
you shut
let's say we
up?
have a
I didn't
toy,
even
right?
give a.
Let's say we have a toy, right? Let's say the toy is broken and not broken. That's a contradiction, right? But in this case, if the toy
Dude, what
is
are you
broken
talking
and not
about?
broken, it would not
That's
exist.
a,
So in
bro.
this case, God just does not exist. Going by your logic. So just go ahead and.
Why am I being muted? Can you just stop muting me? Hello. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
agree to
just go
moderation.
to
Look,
respond to what
That
I
was
look,
said.
crazy
but
ass
look,
productive.
look.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not gonna lie,
All
bro.
right, look. Wait. So God. Okay, you think that God having a subjective experience takes
Fucking.
away from God being objective?
Oh yeah, it's gonna contradict him being objective.
And by objective, it's just that the
Shut the
things that
fuck up,
God,
bitch.
the properties of God is objective. Okay, so why does him having experiences mean that like his objective parts are not gone?
No, I told you that free will in this case is just gonna be subjective, and God, you said God has free will, so therefore he is not completely objective or not even objective at this point. So you're just contradicting yourself.
Okay, wait. Look. Why does God having subjective experiences mean that the properties of God is no longer objective? Because that's
He's
what I
not
thought
tracking this.
Kel meant when he said
No,
this.
no, no, no. I'm not saying it's no longer going to be objective. You're going to say that it's
Holy
going to be objective.
tracky
Listen, I'm going
demon, bro.
to.
Okay, wait.
Listen. I'm going to help you
Listen,
out.
listen.
What he said was,
Let
look,
me clarify for you. I'm going to put Frost Loco muted real quick. All right. I'm going to clarify for you real quick. All right. Listen, I asked you this question multiple times. Here's the proposition. Do you believe that, here's a question, my bad. Do you believe all God is going to be objective? You started saying that you were going to be agnostic, and then later you said, I'm pretty sure, and then we're just going to say that that's pretty much a yes in this case. Because you just kept on being iffy about it, but then you
Fuck
said
me.
yes.
Fuck me.
So,
Shut your faggot ass
What?
up.
so then you basically said all of God is objective, but he has qualia, and that's going to be if and only if. That's biconditional with him. So if he has
wait, what am
qualia,
I? Wait, what
then
am
that
I?
means that, and
When
you
I
define
wait,
qualia as like this subjective experience, then there can exist one subjective thing of God. So then that means that God is not fully objective.
then my answer was never saying that God was fully objective because I agreed that if and only if
The
God or if and
backtracking
only
every
if
time
God
we.
is conscious then he has
That's back.
quality.
That's a
Wait,
backtrack. That's a backtrack.
because what you got? Okay, you guys asked me. Well, before I said that God does have quality. Yes, I agree. God has subjective
So
experiences,
then
right?
God isn't objective.
And then he
Like
said
he.
that, bro. Wait, why can't you have both objective and subjective parts, bro? I don't see I don't see what's wrong with that.
So there's so much reductios to this. I'm just gonna tell
No,
you, but like I'm gonna just point some out right now for
let's say
future reference.
wait, because look, let's say objectively God has, let's say a hand, right? But God also has memories and stuff like that, and consciousness experiences, right? What the fuck is a problem?
Okay, there's so much
Okay,
fucking
look,
problems. I'm gonna tell you.
so that has no
Okay.
relevance in this debate. So
I don't
you
look. Can
said
you?
no, you said that God has free will, right? You said God is objective, right? But you said that he has free will of creating all things, right? So that would just be a subjective act. And in this case, if he's fully objective, how can an objective being commit a subjective act? So now you've triggered my
Wait,
trap
what's
card.
the?
Yeah, it could.
But okay, because if I'm agreeing that God has consciousness, I'm already agreeing that at least one part of God is subjective.
So can
Wait,
God
can you
make
repeat that again?
falsity? So here I'm gonna ask you a
Breaking
question.
my
Can
answer.
God make falsicities?
I don't know.
But his sense of experience, you said he has qualia. So if he has qualia, then there's so much reductios that can follow. Listen, if you're saying that God has qualia, then you're saying that what God experiences and what God thinks and his opinions and all of these things that he has are going to not be true by virtue. So if he were to say, let there be light, that can just not be true in any type of way, for an example, right? Because
Okay,
then
I
that could
don't.
just be subjective. It could be false. So God can make falsicities, and now God is not going to be this objective criteria, and you're just kind of
Okay, wait, because
contradicting your very
all I'm
definition.
proving here is that God is necessary and
So
God
he's
is conscious.
contingent.
What? How the
Yeah,
fuck
but
does that mean?
you proved he's contingent just by saying that he has like this subjective experience. By proving he
Yeah,
has
how
these
does that make?
subjective experiences, then his opinions and his view on the world and the view on the world that he made is now going to be contingent because it can change. It could possibly be false. So what he believes, what he experiences, and what he says, what everything that we know of God and what he is can now possibly be false. So therefore, God is not going to be this necessary, eternal, highest being that you're trying to pertain him as.
No,
He's
wait.
now
Okay,
going to be
wait,
this
wait.
contradictory being. It's pretty
Okay,
simple.
wait. Okay, let's. Okay, look.
This
I
is
don't.
terrible.
Nigga, what the fuck? This is gonna be because, well, if I'm agreeing that God exists, right, and God is just a necessary conscious being, I don't. What the
Who
fuck?
also
What is
has
him
qualia.
having?
Bro,
Okay, wait. Okay,
Noism, what
look.
did you
Cause
do to this nigga, bro?
You said he was
This nigga
fully
no,
objective.
Noism this, bro.
I genuinely just literally just don't because if God is because all I'm agreeing here is that God exists. What the fuck? And God having subjective experiences hasn't taken away from his existence.
I think he's saying like if
So
it's like
So God's not fully objective. To clarify for baby Godfly.
I mean,
That's
he
still
has
bad for you.
okay, so yeah, at least one quality experience. So sure, he's not fully
He
objective,
has
Okay,
a
but
so
quality
he can be
experience.
false in at least one instance, basically. He can
he
be
can be
false in one
false.
instance,
I
so
mean,
he
he's
could be
not
different
omniscient.
from just being
That he's
true.
not necessary if he's false in
Nigga,
this
okay,
instance.
wait. If
It's
all I'm
another,
proving
it's
is that God
another, it's
is
another,
necessary
it's
and
another death
conscious,
show.
those are the
Well,
two only
yo, this
properties that
nigga
have
is yo. Oh yeah, he got you.
Listen. I'm telling you this. You're
yeah,
still implying contingency. If
I
you're
think we
saying
should
that he's not going to be
conclude.
fully objective, listen. If you're going to say that he's not going to be fully objective, and there's one instance in which he could be false, or in another instance in which he could be true, then you're saying that he's contingent.
Okay, wait, how does it imply contingency? Because all I'm agreeing to is that God is necessary and conscious. If God is necessary and conscious,
Oh my
then,
god.
bro,
Wait,
these
but you said he's
accidental
false
properties
in
that
one
you assign to
instance,
him,
so now he's not necessary.
look, wait,
Now he's not
look,
necessary. Now what?
look, because these accidental properties that you assign to him, right, that wouldn't matter onto his essentials. His
Accidental?
essential properties being that he always exists
These
within every
aren't
possible world.
accidental. Wait, these aren't accidental. Wait, you're saying that? Wait, you're saying God can have accidental properties, meaning that there could be something of him which isn't going to be constituted as him or fully for him.
Okay, wait, okay, so if his essential property
No,
is that
no.
God
Yo,
always
yo,
exists,
yo, yo,
wait,
Zeni,
can
let's
you
just
shut the fuck
conclude.
up? Look,
You're embarrassing
wait,
yourself.
W.
can you shut up? Wait, look,
Yo,
if
you're a
God's
Derek level
essential property,
threat.
can
Wait.
you shut the fuck up? Holy
Yo,
shit.
no,
That
Derek, yo, come handle
was
my
Look,
light
look,
nasty
work.
ass
yo, can you
production.
mute him?
Yo,
Let
Derek, come
him
handle
fuck
my
in.
light.
Wait, Zeni. If you say that the will is an accidental property, then that's referring to a characteristic that is not essential to its nature or existence. So he could have failed to will the universe, like, or have a will.
Wait,
You're proving his
wait,
point.
look, look. If God's essential properties always exist in every possible world, right? And these accidental properties like him having subjective experience, that just doesn't carry on to other
He
possible
can't
worlds where he
have that though, cause he's
exists.
objective.
Exactly.
Nigga,
He can't
look,
have
all I'm saying,
accidental properties because then that means that he can be different. If you could take away those accidental properties and that's not going to be necessary of God, then that just means that God is not going to be complete. And by saying that, you're proving that he can change. Hence, he's contingent.
He
okay, wait,
can't.
look, all I'm
All right,
He
proving is
can't
that
stay
let
God.
Zenny,
Pacquiao
objective.
debate.
Zenny,
Hold on, let
Zenny, I
Pacquiao
debunked you
debate.
already.
Yeah,
I
bro.
debunked you already.
Shut
You
up,
said that he's
look,
false.
look,
That no, you
cause
said that he's
wait,
false in one
shut up,
instance. So now he's not necessary.
wait,
You retard.
shut up,
So
because
so
all I'm
now he's
Packer,
proving
not
you
is
have to
necessary. You
conclude.
suck.
look, shut
You
up.
trash. Let's
All I'm
Packer,
conclude.
proving is that God has a
Let's
will and calls
conclude.
the
You're
universe.
wasting my time. You
Wait,
suck. Your ass.
can you
yeah,
shut
Let's
up?
just
this
conclude.
is
Can
crazy.
you shut up? Look, because all I'm proving is that God
Derek
has a
level
will. And
threat. Come on, let's go.
can you
Easy
shut?
load up.
Please,
Yo,
can you
let's just
just?
conclude.
All
Yo,
right, look,
yo, I'm
because
gonna
look, all I'm
disengage.
proving,
I'm gonna
look, all I'm proving is
disengage.
that
We're
God has a
concluding.
will
I'm
and calls the
disengaging
W,
universe.
from
Like
you.
if that, those properties don't have to carry on to any other
Oh,
possible world.
I'm disengaging from you.
Yo, Prince,
Okay.
nobody told you to talk. You will lose this any.
Yo, Frost, I'd fuck your mom. Shut the bitch
Dog
ass
shit.
up.
Okay, since they're
Dumbass
done
faggot. I'll
debating,
fuck your
bro.
grandma in
Let's
front
just
of you. I'll fuck
disengage. You
Gab in
can't
front of
even
you.
get
Suck my
past
dick, nigga.
Princess
Get the fuck out
Damien
of my
bro. I
Fucking
don't
face.
think you're
Since
worthy to
the
debate, Prince.
listen. I just want to explain this, Zeni, bro. I feel like this was bad. Yeah, since you guys are like done debating at this point, because he's obviously disengaging. Listen, man. If you're saying that they don't have to be applicable to any possible.
Because all I'm proving is that God is
Mm-hmm.
necessary and God has a
Yeah.
will, right? These don't have to carry on
Exactly,
to
I
any other
agree.
possible worlds. These things don't have to carry on
Well,
to any other
this would
possible
have to be
worlds.
true. This would have to be true across all possible worlds. Don't you agree?
Why?
Because he's necessary.
What the fuck? Yo, Zeni, no, Zeni, you're going down, bro.
Because look, him having accidental properties like fucking a will and him being necessary,
Mm-hmm.
being an essential property, in our possible worlds, he
Then
exists.
that
In a
goes,
possible
bro.
world.
Listen, that when you say that he has the accidental property of a will, that goes against your point for saying that the will is necessary.
Yes.
I wasn't
If
even
you're saying
getting
the
the
will isn't
argument
necessary,
after.
no, wait. I don't
No,
think you're
because
tracking. If you're saying the will is accidental, that means it can fail to exist. And if that's the case, then under your definition of God, you would be proving his point is like right because he's saying that God doesn't necessarily have to have a will.
I didn't use that argument after we got off the definitions because all he said is I don't agree to this definition of God. All right, if that's the case, then what definition of God do you agree to? Ain't necessary and conscious God. And I didn't use that argument to justify necessary and conscious God.
Oh my God.
So you're
This is
just
so
contradicting
bad.
yourself.
No, because look,
Pacquiao,
if
you
that
acting
This is
argument
crazy.
wasn't
man. I got Pac. You know what? Whoever this nigga Zeni was still that for Chris,
Packer,
bro.
can you conclude, bro?
What will the nigga that was
All right,
chill
bro.
at?
I'm not Packer yet, but I already concluded. He's kind of shit. I'm not gonna waste my time on
All
that.
right,
State
Pacquiao.
conclusion.
I pack, oh yeah.
No, wait, cause bro.
So yeah, my conclusion for this debate: you made many contradictions. You fell into many of my reductio traps. Yeah, your ass, bro.
Nigga
So
lost
that's
the
why I
pack I
did that.
got, man.
Are you